was tired of hearing people always talking about black women, saying, why can't they get a man? Why can't they get a man? Why can't they keep a man? How they all educated and looking all pretty and they can't keep a man? They can't get a man. Don't you get tired of hearing that mess? Anyway, I want to tell you my story. I am Joy Wilburn. I've been married for 25 years. 25 years. That's a long time, okay? That's a long time to be putting up with a whole bunch of... Wait, let me get back to my story. I remember being 13 years old and my mother telling me, you're never too young to pray for a husband. So I would pray for him, you know, tell the Lord what I wanted in a man. I would tell the Lord, I ran out of things to say. So I just started praying for this person as if I already knew him. So I prayed and prayed and prayed. Finally finished college, got my first job, and I moved away from home. I was very, very lonely. So I reached out to a friend because, you know, whoever this guy was, I was ready for him to come in my life. I was tired of being by myself. So I reached out to a friend and her mom prayed for me. And this woman, her prayers came through so many times that I just banked my whole life on her prayer. And I was like, cha-ching, I hear the bells ringing in heaven. I know God is answering her prayers. I mean, I don't know about mine, but I know because she prayed for me. My prayer is coming through. So she prayed and she said 3 months later, I said, I know I'm going to meet him before the end of the year. This was in 1991. And she said, it's not going to take till the end of the year. I was like, ooh, I'm getting married. I was telling all my friends I was getting married. I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't have an interest. I didn't have anything. I was just in the tool crib telling people. I worked in a manufacturing plant. I was in the tool crib telling people that I was going to get married. And they laughed at me. But it's okay. So anyway, 3 months later, he showed up. The man of my dreams. I was like, ah, for me? Oh my goodness. Yay. So before the end of 1991, we were talking marriage. So I knew he was going to be my husband. So God confirmed this. I said, Lord, put the neon sign over his head because I just want to know that he is truly the one. And God confirmed this to me in so many different ways. So I knew I had the right guy. But how many of y'all know you had the right guy and it still went wrong? I think most of y'all aren't even convinced that you had the right guy or that this relationship should have happened or turned into marriage because you just don't know what happened. So you're trying to explain it away and say, well, it wasn't God's will. No, I knew it was God's will. And I cried. I suffered for 18 years. Okay. 18. I basically crucified my flesh. The bottom line, the thing the Lord told me was, love your enemies. If he's good to you, yeah, love him. But if he hates you, love him anyway. So there was no out clause. You know, love your enemies kind of covers that wayward husband. So I was like, okay, love your enemy. Then the Lord told me, present your body a living sacrifice. And you kind of get where I'm going with that. I had to die to self to be able to do that. So I still, prayed and cried and cried and prayed. And I'll be worshiping at night. Lord, help me, Jesus. Help me, Holy Ghost. Help me. Lord Jesus, help me through this. And I stayed because I wanted my kids to have a daddy. This man, going to work every day, had a job, paid his bills. He didn't beat me. I was not in a physically abusive relationship. But I would say emotionally abusive. But anyway, mainly not because he was really trying to abuse my emotions. He was just very cold, very disconnected, and totally not, fulfilling my needs in that area. So, and it seemed like no matter what I said to him, the words would always get twisted. So I had nobody to help me. I would talk to my dad. I would say just little things, and, you know, we move on to the next topic, and he would just basically say things to cheer me up. And just as a side note, out of all of my family members, I'm the only one married. I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? My grandmother was married 3 times. I'm thinking, did she do a spell or something like that so she can get a husband? And then borrow from the future husbands? I'm thinking that's something like that happened. Well, anyway, but then the Lord led me to a ministry. Y'all probably heard of TB Joshua. He does a lot of deliverance in Lagos, Nigeria. And I started hearing those women speak, that those spirit spouses speak. And I was like, I think that's my problem. But then the Lord reminded me of a dream I had where I was standing on the front steps of a house, and this man was leaning over the banisters really close to me, and it was not my husband. And then I remember another dream. I was in a living room, in a front room, and it was in a bungalow. I grew up in a bungalow. It was not my house, but it was kind of configured like that. And there was a man in the front living room with me in that house. And I was thinking, maybe that's a spirit spouse. That has to be. I have to have a spirit spouse. But by that time, I was doing self-deliverance. I was getting rid of connections to Freemasonry. I broke off with Jezebel. I got delivered from abandonment, grief, and sadness. Oh, the holidays were horrible because I would remember my family. My mother passed away when I was 19. It was just terrible. But when I started going through self-deliverance, the pain around the holidays were gone. Just the pain of separation from my family was gone. The grief from losing my mom was gone. And I was no longer looking to this man to give me what I needed. It was awesome. And so I started doing ministry, I think like 2014 or something like that, and 2015, and started helping people get set free from their spirit spouse. And that was a turning point for me. I was no longer living in torment. Now, this man did not change, but I had a weapon, and I wasn't afraid to use it. I had the knowledge of how to use, how to come against his demons. So then after I got some relief, I was, praising God, helping other people, just totally dove into ministry. And as I helped other people get delivered, I was getting delivered. And then the Lord showed me that he has a spirit spouse. I just recently, this year 18 was when I was going through all the self-deliverance, but the turning point with him, with me seeing what was going on with him, just happened this year, like a few weeks ago. I took 2 guys through deliverance. They bought my spirit spouse deliverance class and told me what manifested. And I was like, that sounds like what's on my husband. So I started doing warfare like that against the spirit spouse on my husband. And I started to see things shift. Now, I'm not saying things are perfect right now, but boy, 25 years is a living testament that my spiritual warfare strategy is helping. My kids are benefiting. You all are benefiting from me being together with this guy, because my husband, sorry, because if he didn't do what he did, if he didn't allow me to do what I do, I couldn't help you. So I just want to tell you one last thing. I spoke to a friend yesterday, and she has a prospect for marriage. They're a new couple, and they're just, just showing interest in each other. But the Lord has shown her that this is her husband. But there's something holding him back. And I said, he has a spirit spouse. And I started doing a one-on-one deliverance session with her on behalf of her prospect. And she saw how many rings he had on, what those rings meant, and other things, how this spirit was keeping them apart. Now, many of you all have been through failed relationships and didn't even know that the spirit spouse on you was working against you, and the spirit spouse on the other person was working against you. Even grandma was throwing stuff against him to block him from relationships. I have seen that so many times, so many times. So I want to encourage you all to go look at the Spirit Spouse Deliverance Program. It will change your whole life. It's like taking the red pill and going into the matrix. It's a whole different world of warfare, totally unlike they have ever mentioned to you in church before. And this program is very, very anointed. It's extremely anointed. When you go in there and look at all the reviews, you'll see how all the people have been delivered. There are women, a woman just recently got delivered from a spirit of prostitution. She is so happy. She says she has never, ever been this happy before in her life. Okay? This thing is life-changing because the spirit spouse is a high-ranking spirit. It's a marine spirit. It's high-ranking, and it brings in all those other strongholds in your life. You're thinking, oh, I'm just going to battle Jezebel, but there's somebody over Jezebel, and there's something over that spirit, and all these different little things that are happening that's going wrong in your life. It's because the spirit spouse is in control. That's the gate. That's the doorway. Because a marriage is stronger than any other relationship you could ever have. So a marriage with a demon, you're married to a demon, that's just a catastrophe. Your whole life is going to be a catastrophe. It already has been. And you've just been explaining divorce after divorce away. You're just explaining, you know, you're trying to explain life away and blame everything. Well, it's not God's will. It's not God's will. No, God said it's God. What, I'm trying to get the verse right. It's not good. It's not good for man to be alone. And he didn't mean just men. He meant people, humans. It's not good for man to be alone. It's not good for anybody to be alone. So if you want to know if it's God's will for you to have a mate, it is God's will. He said it in the beginning in Genesis. It's not good for man to be alone. So take that and buy the program. Look at the testimony and inbox me if you have to, because I want to get this to you. I want to help your life move forward. I want to help you hold on to your relationships. Hold on to this prospect, this fiance that hasn't asked you to marry him yet. I want to help you hold on. All right, so I will see you in class. God bless you.